Hello everyone. Last time we have completed Introduction to Analytical Chemistry. So this time we are going to start with the new chapter, that is states of matter. You know that substances exist in one of the three main states of matter. Now the three distinct physical forms of matter are solid, liquid and gas. But other than this thing, in extreme environment there are plasma, Bose-Einstein condensate and neutron stars. But we are going to mainly focus on gaseous and liquid states over here, and in 12th standard we are going to learn into detail about solid state. Okay. So to understand about different states of matter, we'll take example of water. So as you know, water exists in three different states as solid ice, liquid water and gaseous vapors. This you all might have seen. Okay, so we can say that ice is solid in nature, water what we drink, that is liquid, and vapors, after boiling water what happens, you can see some gaseous thing going up, so that is water vapor. Now these three states of matter are interconvertible by exchange of heat, as you can see in the diagram there. That is solid, when heated it will convert into liquid. Similarly liquid, when heated it will go into gas. And when the reverse takes place, that means if gases are cooled down it will turn into liquid. When liquids are again cooled down it will go into solid. So that you can easily take example of ice, water and water vapor. So ice, when taken out from fridge it will turn into water as the temperature increases. Now that water when boiled, what will happen, it will change into water vapor. Now the same thing, now when hot water is there and I keep a lid over top of that, what will happen, that water vapor will condense. So that is water vapor changing to water droplets. Then this water droplets, whatever is there, if I keep it in fridge then it will turn into ice. So we can say that when the cooling takes place it will change from gas to liquid, liquid to solid. And when I heat it up, what will happen, it will change from solid to liquid and liquid to gas. This is a process. So now we'll see some more distinguishing points between solid, liquid and gas. So the first point is microscopic view. Over here you can see that in the first point it is mentioned that mean atomic / molecular separation. That means what is the separation between two atoms or two molecules, that we can understand over here. So in solid the mean separation is approximately equal to 3 to 5 Armstrong unit, whereas in liquid it is 3 to 10 Armstrong unit, and in gas it is more than 5 Armstrong unit. Okay. Second point talks about the arrangement of particles, that is atoms or molecules. Over here the first one, solids are very tightly held together, and we can say they have a regular arrangement of atoms and molecules, as you can see in the diagram. And in liquid, particles are loosely packed, there are irregular arrangement of particles. And in gas the particles are more loosely packed and highly irregular arrangement, you can see. Now the third point talks about the movement of particles. Now as you know that the solids are tightly held, there are no free spaces, so we can say that the particles cannot freely move as they are having a fixed position. Now in case of liquid the particles are having somewhat space, so they can move a small distance within the liquid. And in case of gas they are having lot of space, that means they are loosely packed, therefore more space is there, therefore we can say they are having continuous random motion. Okay. Next point talks about the shape and volume, which you have already seen in your lower standards as well. You have seen all the points, but then to shape and volume, every time you hear about this thing when you talk about solid, liquid and gas. So over here the solids are having definite shape and volume, liquid takes the shape of the container and has definite volume, and gas takes the shape and volume of the container. Next one, intermolecular space. So we have already discussed this. The space between two molecules or two atoms are very small in solid. In case of liquid it is moderate, and in case of gas it is large. Next point, talking about the effect of small change in temperature. Over here volume change is very small, that we can say it is negligible. Next, liquid. In case of liquid, when temperature changes, volume changes, so moderate effect of volume change. Last one, gas, volume change significantly high. Last point, compression or expansion. Okay, in solid we cannot compress the solid. Okay, so we can say it is practically non-compressible. Next, liquid can be compressible to a lesser extent, and in case of gas we can say it is highly compressible in nature. Okay, so these are some points of solid, liquid and gas. So the first topic over here is intermolecular forces. So first we have to understand what is intermolecular forces. So intermolecular forces is the force acting between two molecule is said to be intermolecular forces. Okay, so as you can see over here, they are the attractive forces as well as the repulsive forces present between the neighboring molecules. So the forces can be attractive or repulsive in nature. Next, this attractive forces which exist, it decreases with the increase in the distance between the molecule. So like for example, if you say when we bring two magnet things together, so what will happen? To a certain distance only they can be attracted. Okay, so that is what, even the attractive forces decreases with increase in the distance between the molecules. Next, the point is the intermolecular forces are strong in solids, less strong in liquids and weak in gases. That is easily explained by the above statement, that is the attractive forces depends on the distance between the molecules. Over there in solids the distance is very less, therefore the intermolecular forces are very strong. In case of liquid it is comparatively the distance is more, therefore less strong, and in gases the intermolecular spaces are very high, therefore they have weak in nature. The intermolecular forces are weak in nature. And we can also say that the three physical states of matter can be determined as per the strength of intermolecular forces. So depending upon what is the strength of a substance, we can easily understand which will be the physical state of that particular substance. Okay, so the physical properties of matter such as melting point, boiling point, viscosity, evaporation, surface tension, solubility can be studied with respect to the strength of attractive forces between the molecules. So simply you have to remember that intermolecular forces are the forces existing between the neighboring molecules. So depending on this thing there are different types. Okay, so that we'll see now. So the different types of intermolecular forces are dipole-dipole interaction, second one ion dipole interaction, next dipole induced dipole interactions, next hydrogen bonding, and the last one is London dispersion forces. So first we will see dipole-dipole interaction. So to understand about dipole-dipole interaction, first thing you have to understand is this kind of interactions are seen in polar molecules. Okay, now why polar molecules? Because they are having dipoles. Now what is this dipoles? Dipoles means they are having two poles. Okay, now polar molecules are the one which is having separation of charges. Like for example, if I take O2, is it a polar molecule? No, it is not a polar molecule. If I take HCl, is it a polar molecule? Yes, it is a polar molecule. Now why it is a polar molecule? Because they are having separation of charges. For example, H and Cl, when I write down Cl is more electronegative than hydrogen. As a result, these will be having separation of charges. That means one is more electropositive and one is more electronegative. As a result, there will be separation of charges. That means chlorine will try to attract the electrons towards itself. As a result, there will create a charge on chlorine as well as on hydrogen. Okay, so this is said to be dipoles. Okay, so polar molecule, hope you understood. The one which is having separation of charges are said to be polar molecules, and polar molecules do have dipoles. As a result, the interactions are said to be dipole-dipole interactions. Okay, now as you can see over there in the second point, covalent bond becomes polar because of the electronegativity difference between the bonding atoms. That is what I have explained, that H and Cl, when I take, chlorine is more electronegative. As a result, it will try to take the electron density towards itself. So what will happen? Slight positive charge will be created on top of hydrogen, and there will be negative charge created with chlorine. Okay, so we can say it is observed in compounds containing dissimilar atoms. Oxygen and oxygen, if I take, like for example O2 molecule, both are having same electronegativities. As a result, what will happen? Both will have same strength to pull the electrons towards itself. As a result, there won't be any separation of charges. Therefore, they are said to be non-polar molecules. Okay, so there won't be dipole-dipole interaction in O2 molecule. That is similar kind of molecules. That means the molecule having similar atoms, there won't be dipole-dipole interaction. But the molecules which is having different atoms, that is there will be having difference in electronegativity, then they will definitely show dipole and dipole interaction. Okay, so over here you can see the example of HCl. In one end I have written it as delta negative, and in the other end I have written it as delta positive. So that means where there is more electron density, we normally write down delta negative, and where there is less electron density, we write down delta positive. So the partial negative charge and the partial positive charge is written with the help of a Greek letter called delta. Okay, so whenever there is partial negative charge, we write down delta negative. Whenever there is partial positive charge, we write down delta positive. Okay, so and the arrow which you can see over top is called as the dipole moment. Now dipole moment, it is strictly that where there is electronegative, there we have to show the arrow. Okay, it cannot be in the reverse manner. We cannot show the arrow side towards hydrogen. It should be always towards the electron rich thing, that is the one which is having more electron density. Okay, like for example, if it is H and F, HF, then fluorine will be having delta negative and hydrogen will be having delta positive. Over here the arrow will face towards the fluorine atom. Okay, so we can say that as a result of polarization, the molecule possesses the dipole moment. So now we'll understand about dipole moment. It is said to be the product of the magnitude of the charge and the distance between the centers of positive and negative charge, that is R. So we can say that it is simply Q multiplied by R, and dipole moment is represented by the Greek letter mu, that is mu, and the unit for dipole moment is d by, and it is represented by capital D. And the arrow which you have seen on top of a molecule is said to be the dipole moment. That is, it is a vector quantity, and therefore it is represented by a small arrow with tail in the positive center and head pointing towards the negative center. And the crossed arrow which is there in the Lewis structure represent an electron density shift. Now this polar molecules have permanent dipole moment, as that means they are having a separation of charges. So when one polar molecule approaches towards the other polar molecule, what happens? The positive end of one molecule is attracted to the negative end of the another polar molecule. This interaction, that is one molecule is having dipole, the other molecule is as well having dipole. So dipole dipole interaction is the name given when two molecules interact together. Okay, so the name it is given as what? Dipole dipole interaction. Over here in this diagram you can see iodine chloride. So they are having separation of charges, therefore they show dipole dipole interaction. Okay, so in one molecule of iodine chloride, chlorine will be having delta negative because chlorine is more electronegative and it will shift the electron density towards itself. As a result, iodine will be having slight positive charge and it is represented by delta positive. Okay, so when we consider two molecule, what will happen? The positive end will be attracted towards the negative end of the other molecule. So each of the molecule is having dipole, therefore we call this interaction as dipole dipole interaction. Hope you understood this thing. There are many such examples like butyl chloride is there, dimethyl ether, and many more as such is there. Okay, so over here once again HF is there. So the way to write down the dipole moment over the molecule is HF, arrow showing towards the fluorine. Okay, and the closed arrow above the Lewis structure represent the electron density shift. And just a revision over here, polar molecules have permanent dipole moment and therefore the positive end of one molecule is attracted to the negative end of the another polar molecule, and hence this is called as dipole dipole interaction. So we can also say more polar the substance, greater the strength of its dipole dipole interaction. So if the substance is more polar, there will be having more dipole dipole interaction. Okay, next we'll see the effect of dipole moments on boiling point. So as you know that higher the boiling point, that means the bond should be stronger, then only the boiling point will be higher. Therefore we can say that we have taken all the molecules which are having almost same molar mass. So in that thing you can see that dipole moment is different. So the one which is having more dipole moment is having higher boiling point. That means over there the bond between the bond between two molecules are stronger. As a result, it will lead to high boiling point. So the four substances which is there is propane, next is dimethyl ether, next is methyl chloride, and the last one is methyl cyanide. Out of this thing, the dipole moment of the last one, that is methyl cyanide, is more. As a result, the boiling point of methyl cyanide is comparatively more than the others. Next one is the ion dipole interaction. This is also very simple because now you know what is dipole. Okay, so one molecule will be a polar molecule, okay, and the other one will be the ionic molecule. Okay, so like NaCl, so ion, and dipole means a polar molecule will be interacting together, then it will give me ion dipole interaction. So the first point which is written over there is it results of electrostatic interaction between an ion and the partial charges on a polar molecule. So the interaction between an ion and a polar molecule is said to be ion dipole interaction. Okay, now the strength of this interaction depends on some factors. They are charge and size of an ion, magnitude of dipole moment, and size of the molecule. Once again, what are the important factors in which the interaction depends? The charge, size, magnitude of dipole moment, and the size of the molecule. Okay, so here in this diagram you can see sodium plus ion in between, and H2O molecule is surrounded around the Na plus ion. Okay, now Na plus, I can say it is cation. Okay, cation means the positively charged species are said to be cation, and the negatively charged species are said to be anion. Okay, so if I take NaCl in water, so Na plus will be surrounded by water molecules, and Cl minus will be surrounded by water molecules. Only the difference will be the end which is pointing towards Na plus and Cl minus. So this process is said to be hydration. Okay, now as you can see in this diagram, Na plus is surrounded by water molecules. Now which end is attracted towards the Na plus ion of water molecule? It is the oxygen. Why it is oxygen? Because oxygen is electronegative. Okay, so that will carry slight negative charge, therefore it is written as delta negative, and the hydrogens will be having delta positive charge. So I can say water is a polar molecule which is having separation of charges. Now Na plus is a positive species, so the positive species will attract the negative one. That means a negative ion will come and surround the positive species. So the negative end of water is oxygen, so therefore that will face towards the Na plus ions. Okay, if it is Cl minus, what will face? The H plus will face towards the the Cl minus ions. So this process is said to be hydration. So hopefully you understood what do you mean by ion dipole interaction. Okay, now this ion dipole forces are particularly important in aqueous solutions of ionic substances such as sodium chloride. Okay, so when we say the sodium chloride is dissolved in water, the ions get separated and surrounded by water molecules, which is said to be hydration of sodium ions. And if it is surrounded to chlorine ion, then it is said to be hydration of chlorine ions. Okay, so this process of surrounding the water molecule to a ion is said to be hydration. So now we have to see some conditions of ion dipole interaction. So cations are smaller in size than the isoelectronic ions. Now what do you mean by isoelectronic? Having equal number of electrons are said to be isoelectronic. Okay, so cations are comparatively smaller in size than their isoelectronic ions. Now over here, the charge density on cation, that is Na plus, is more concentrated than the anion, that is Cl minus. Okay, therefore the interaction of Na plus and water will be stronger as compared to the interaction of Cl minus and water. Why? Because the charge density on cation is more. Okay, so we can say more the charge on cation, stronger is the ion dipole interaction. So the strength of interaction increases with increase in charge on cation and with decrease in ionic size or radius. That means, see, if the charge is more, the interaction will be more, and if the ionic size is less, even then what will happen? The interaction will be more, like increase with increase in charge on cation and decrease in ionic size. That means smaller the size, the interaction will be more. As it is, why it is more? Because the charge will be more concentrated. Okay, so there one example is there. Ion dipole forces increases in the order Na plus is less than Mg2 plus less than Al3 plus. So the ion dipole forces is more for Al3 plus when interacted with water. Now one more thing, why it is so? Al3 plus is having more charge, that is 3 plus, and the size is comparatively less. Okay, so hopefully you understood this thing. Next one, dipole induced dipole interaction. So over here again dipole is there, so dipole means polar molecule will be there, and induced dipole means that will be a non-polar molecule. So the interaction between a polar molecule and a non-polar molecule is said to be dipole induced dipole interaction. So we can say when polar molecules like H2O, NH3 and non-polar molecules like benzene approach each other, the polar molecule induce dipole in the non-polar molecule. Therefore, what happens? A temporary dipole is created in the non-polar molecule. Understand? Polar molecule is having a dipole moment, it will have a permanent dipole moment, but non-polar molecule is not having any dipole. So what happens when this polar molecule approaches the dipole, when the polar molecule approaches the non-polar molecule, it induces dipole in the non-polar molecule. As a result, we can say temporary dipoles are created in the non-polar molecule by the shifting of electron clouds. Okay, so this force of attraction developed between the polar and the non-polar molecule is said to be dipole induced dipole interaction. Now we'll see one example. So over here we have taken a polar molecule and a non-polar molecule. Over here the polar molecule is my NH3 and the non-polar molecule is benzene, and when it is having an interaction, what will happen? The polar molecule, that is NH3, will try to induce dipole in non-polar molecule. That is what is shown in the other side, that is NH3, which is already having dipoles, that is delta minus in nitrogen and delta positive in hydrogens, is interacting with benzene, and it leads to a interaction which creates dipole in the non-polar molecule. So carbon is delta positive and hydrogen is delta negative. So this interaction is said to be dipole induced dipole interaction. So hopefully you understood this thing. Next class we are going to continue with this topic. Okay then, bye.